the gambling news nobody asked for, with our dear host, Dr. Desi.
Welcome back to the gambling news nobody asked for, the only show where the gambling industry spends half its time trying to convince us it isn't gambling. Tonight, prediction markets suddenly become hidden gambling. A Las Vegas robbery goes spectacularly wrong. A multi-million-dollar lottery winner explains why winning isn't always winning. Amazon settles over social casino games, and a drug dealer discovers that casinos don't care where the money came from. So, another week where gambling looked in the mirror and didn't like what it saw. Let's begin. So, North American lotteries have issued a warning that prediction markets might actually be gambling. Oh, no way. Apparently, risking money on certain outcomes, hoping to win more money, has started raising questions. The lotteries say prediction markets are simply gambling, pretending to be something else. And that's my favorite part, because suddenly the gambling industry has become incredibly good at recognizing gambling. It's fascinating. When they invent a new betting product, it's innovation. When someone else does it, it's a serious threat to society. It's like watching Coca-Cola accuse Pepsi of selling sugary drinks. It's also amazing how quickly a business discovers its principles, the moment someone else starts taking its customers. Nobody suddenly discovered a public health crisis. They discovered competition. And honestly, that's when gambling becomes very interested in defining gambling. What matters isn't what we call an activity. It's how people experience it. If someone repeatedly risks money, anticipates a reward, and keeps coming back despite losses, the psychological mechanisms remain remarkably similar. Changing the label may influence public perception, but it doesn't change how the brain learns. And next, a man has been arrested after allegedly robbing the sportsbook where he worked, which already feels like bringing a water pistol to the Navy. Police say he stole around $28,000 and then came back to work the very next day. Like he was just checking if anyone noticed. These places have cameras, security, surveillance teams, and enough footage to make Netflix ask for the rights. So congratulations! You picked the only building where somebody was definitely watching. And somehow the gateway plan was to show up for your next shift. Honestly, if your escape plan includes clocking in, it's not an escape plan, it's overtime. Confidence can be surprisingly deceptive. When people become convinced they'll succeed, they often stop looking for the obvious risks. Psychologists call this optimism bias, the tendency to believe we are less likely than others to experience negative outcomes. And now, a story the lottery commercials usually skip. A man who won one of America's biggest Powerball jackpots, later said he wished he had never won. Well, that escalated quickly. The article looks back at everything that happened after the jackpot. And let's just say the oversized check was the least interesting part. It's funny how every lottery advert ends the exact second someone wins. They never release the director's cut. Because the fantasy is about winning. Real life is everything that comes after that. And that's the part you never hear while they're selling the tickets. Our minds naturally focus on the reward and pay much less attention on what follows it. That's one reason gambling advertising is so powerful. It sells the momentum of winning. It rarely invites us to imagine the years that come after. And next, Amazon has reached a settlement over so-called social casino games. Social casino. I love that name. It sounds like gambling wearing business casuals. The lawsuit claimed Amazon profited from casino-style apps, where people bought virtual chips that couldn't actually be cashed out. So technically, not gambling. Just spending real money to pretend you're gambling. It's fascinating. The gambling industry has invented more alternative names than Prince had stage outfits. It's not gambling, it's gaming, it's prediction, it's social casino. At this point, I'm waiting for emotionally interactive probability experiences. Because apparently, if you rename something often enough, the psychology disappears. Spoiler, it doesn't. Our brains respond much more to experiences than to labels. Whether something is called gambling, gaming, or entertainment, the psychological processes remain remarkably similar if money, reward, and repetition are involved. And finally, a drug dealer lost $1.5 million gambling. Unfortunately, it wasn't his money. According to prosecutors, the money belonged to the cartel, and instead of delivering it, he took it to casinos. Which has to be one of the worst investment strategies I've ever heard. Imagine explaining that. Where's the money? Well, the slot machine looked promising. It's interesting because casinos ask a lot of questions. Are you over 18? Do you accept the terms? Would you like a loyalty card? But somehow, where did this money come from? Never seems to make that list. And here's my favorite part. The cartel probably thought the biggest risk was getting caught by the police. Turns out, it was the slot machine. When people believe a big win can solve an urgent problem, they often become willing to take extreme risks. Stress narrows our thinking. Instead of evaluating probabilities, we start focusing almost exclusively on the possibility of immediate relief. So, what have we learned today? We learned that gambling companies suddenly become experts at spotting gambling when someone else is making the money. Also, that if you rob the casino where you work, coming back for your next shift isn't the strongest alibi. also learned that winning the jackpot is where the advertisements end, not necessarily where the story ends. Also that calling something a social casino doesn't magically make it less casino. And finally, that even a drug cartel isn't immune from gambling. Maybe nobody is. I'm Dr. Desislava Bezinska-Sheinkova. This has been the gambling news nobody asked for. See you next time.
Stay tuned, follow, and subscribe for more news nobody asked for.